This is the NYXI FLEXI. And it's not called the Flexi because it's flexible. I guess it's called the Flexi because you can swap the Dpad and the joystick around. So inside the box, we get a USB-A dongle for connecting it to your PC goodness. It's also Bluetooth and all that good stuff. You do get a cable as well to charge it, and you get spare face buttons inside the box, but that's it. I'm going to be connecting it to my Ally X just here with a USB-A to USB-C adapter. So yeah, this has some, I want to say unique, but it's not really unique because there's some other controllers that can do this already. But it's unique. I'm just going to say unique. It's unique selling feature that you can swap this layout around to make it an asymmetrical one if you want. More on that in a second. This is what it looks like. Now, to me, this is something straight out of Mad Max. I mean, I nearly said condemn. I don't condemn them. I commend them for making something slightly different. This is not your average looking controller. So, you know, props to them for trying something different. Is it for me? Is it for you? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. To me, it looks like something straight out of Mad Max, which I suppose is kind of cool. You know, we've got these like crazy RGB LEDs. On the front, we've got our face buttons. We've got our joysticks. We've got a D-pad. You've got the NYXI button. You've got the sort of hamburger button, whatever that one's called these days. I don't know. Start, select. You've got turbo, macro, which is not for macros. Okay, and then on the top, you've got R1, R2, L2, R2, USB-C port, which straight up I'm going to say, I don't like. And what do you mean, Andy? You don't like a USB-C port? Well, the thing is it's so recessed, I can't get any of my cables in there. So I had to use the one inside the box, which is really frustrating because I've got USB-C cables coming out everywhere, right? And this was annoying. I was like, oh, I'll just charge it. No, wouldn't fit. Oh, it plugs in, but it didn't work. Oh, this is annoying. Like, it was just really annoying. Like, look how recessed that is. Like, that's so far in there. Why is it not flush? Like, why can't they just like bring it out a bit so you could just use any old cable? But yeah, that's kind of annoying. But anyway, that's what's on the top. On the back, yay, we've got 4 back paddles. Woohoo! That's what everyone wants, right? I'm not too fussed. I generally only use 2. But if there's 4, then, you know, I'll use them. And we've got a reset button. And we've also got a dedicated RGB LED button. Now, the actual controller itself, like, I swear this is rubber. Like, it feels like rubber on the back, but yeah, I suppose it is, because you can kind of see that there's like a small gap all the way around it where there is like a rubber sort of like piece, but it's super thin rubber. Very, very thin rubber, but of course, the problem with rubber is that it's going to get sticky over time, especially if you've got Dorito fingers. But that's the only bit of rubber on the back just there, and it's only on the grips around these buttons. Now, on the front, no rubber at all, and we've got this, which looks like metal, but it's not. It is just a plastic piece, and then big old plastic, you know, triggers and bumpers. So I've already said I condemn them, commend them for trying a different shape, but what's it actually feel like? Now, for me, I kind of like it, but I kind of don't at the same time. I'm sorry, NYXI. I'm always honest with these, you know, videos. I kind of like it because the horns feel nice, right? So the way that these come out and they're very large and the like angle that they're at, you know, these are fat. This is a fat controller. It's a fat boy controller. It really, really is. Like, look how big that is. That is wide, man. Like, they're seriously wide. But yeah, these horns feel nice, you know, in the palm of your hands. Like, that feels good. What I don't like is the bumpers and the triggers. Like, because they've gone for this flat, like, kick-up design, but I just feel like it doesn't sit very nicely in my hands. Like, these feel overly big, and so do the triggers. And I feel like they should have had that sort of like curve on them. If this edge just here was like flat, so that there was a flat edge here, so it kind of gradiently moved around this rather than just having this hard stopper edge, I feel like you could rest your finger on it better. Whereas I'm feeling that edge like really hardly, you know, harshly on my fingers there, and I kind of don't like it. Like, it's fine. You know, the rest of the layout of everything feels nice, but I just feel like they could have made a few tweaks to make this feel a bit better. And again, like I said, it is a wide boy. Now, yeah, we've got the usual suspects here. We've got gyro, we've got Hall effect joysticks, we've got Hall effect triggers. There's an array of stuff on here. So you've got rumble. Obviously, you got that RGB LED, which you know, I might as well show you now because it's just a push of a button. Vibrates every time you like do something on this. So there's like a pulse mode or just a solid static color, and you can just cycle through them. So there's kind of like 2 modes on each, like pulse or just solid color or whatever. And of course, we've got turbo and macro as well, but that macro button doesn't do the macro. More on that in a minute. But of course, the standout feature here is changing this faceplate, right? Now, the other thing that you can do is actually swap the buttons around. The thing is, I can't get them out. So they give you spares in the box. And the weird thing is as well, is it says, yeah, you can like pull them out and move the placement, but there's no like software mod built into the controller to actually like enable a switch of X and Y and A and B. So I can't see it happening by just removing them and replacing them because they are just plastic shells. There's spares in the box, right? So I'm not entirely sure how that works because I've literally not been able to do it. So this is another small gripe I have with this controller. The way that you get this faceplate off, right? You just kind of got to grab anywhere. And the best place to do it is under here, but you've got to have a nail to be able to get it under there, right? There's no recess, there's no cutaway, there's nowhere around this that I can see where they've actually meant for you to pull this up. So you've got to have nails to do this, right? And you've got to get your nail in between there and just lift up this magnetized plastic piece, which then reveals the underneath. So if you don't have nails, you're probably going to be there for ages trying to get this off. Whereas all they could have done is literally put a little recess there at the bottom, and then anyone could have just opened it up. But yeah, so that's kind of a negative just there. Like I said with the face buttons, they are so slippery. I legitimately I can't get to it. Like I can't get them out. Like I'm not even joking. I can't get them out because there's no recess on those either. So they've not actually put like a flat lip on the corner or anything just so that you can flick them out. I've literally not been able to get these out, and I've tried for ages, so I've just given up. You can swap them around, but good luck. Now, the other thing is this. This is the main selling feature, right? Is this. This whole module removes. But once again, they've actually put little recesses on this side, but to actually get your fingers in there, you can't really do it. You can prop it up on one side with your thumb, but the best, just pull this joystick and the whole thing will come out, right? So you've got to make sure that that's in there. But if you pull that out, then just pull it from the joystick. That's what I've been doing. And then you can push it down like that, right? So I've just been yanking it out, but you can swap it around. And now we've got a symmetrical layout. Let's put the faceplate back on. Boom. Now you got a PlayStation style layout. And yeah, that's pretty cool, you know? So you can swap it around. Dpad still works as Dpad. Joysticks are now symmetrical. So if you prefer that layout, well, then you've got that. And remember, this is a multi-platform controller. So you can use this on Android, iOS, Nintendo Switch, and Windows. So yeah, this could be really cool for you. I mean, for me, I'm not too fussed either way. You know, like, it's cool to play like this, but I'm so used to playing with an asymmetrical layout. I'm just used to that, but I'm glad that you've got that option because that is the major point here. Now, if I take it out, you can see on the bottom, that's where the inputs are, right? So you can see that tiny little, like, chip there, that little input, and that goes in to there and just, you know, clamps down. And you do it either way you want. So you can either have it PlayStation style, like symmetrical, or you could swap it around and have it asymmetrical. So just for the sake of this, because it's less common, right, I'm going to put it in and just, you've got to make sure that it's really pushed in there to make sure that it's connecting correctly. But yeah, I'm going to put it in this way around and try it this way. So now we've taken a look at the controller, let's go into the tester, shall we, and see what it's like. So I've got it open on my Ally X just here. One thing I forgot to mention is this does have mechanical face buttons. So it does have mechanical switches in there. So they're super clicky, no pre-travel, just immediate, like, oh, okay, I'm lying. There's a little bit of pre-travel and then like quite a bit of post-travel. I thought there was just post-travel, but I'm lying. There's a little bit of pre-travel and quite a bit of post-travel. But really, it's fine. I think I'd prefer more post travel than pre, because I know as soon as I felt that switch click, I'm just going to let go of it, right? But yeah, so the face buttons I actually quite like. So you can see them, you know, lighting up on this software tester here. Absolutely fine. D-pad is a clicky D-pad. Probably not the best, to be honest. I'm not overly liking the feel of it. Feels a bit squeaky. Like, I don't know how else to like say it. It's got a concave on it, but yeah, it just feels a bit strange. You got the joysticks here. I'll do the circularity test, even though that doesn't really mean much at all. It just means that they're a perfect outer dead zone, right? You cannot disable the internal dead zone, so it's got about a 10% dead zone, and you cannot disable the outer dead zone to make it raw mode to get true diagonals, so you cannot do that, right? So that's just something to note. One thing that I found strange, and I think it's because of this plate, is there's a lot of distance to move. So I feel like there's quite a lot of travel before you hit the edge of the gate. So I felt it compared to another controller earlier, and this one had way more movement until it hit that gate on the side. So with like a regular controller, I was sort of hitting it probably like 15% quicker, whereas with this one, you've got even more throw, which could lead to a little bit more accuracy, I suppose. But for me, I just felt like I just felt a bit weird about it because I wasn't used to it. But, you know, the more you use this, the more you'll get used to it and you'll get used to that thing. But there's no adjustability in terms of the dead zones here. Now, in terms of the bumpers, they are both consistent with one another and you can press them anywhere and they do actuate. So that is a good point. The triggers then are analog, so you can see that little movement there to show you that yes, it is analog, but there's no switch to turn it into a digital trigger. It's just an analog trigger just there, but they work fine. There's nothing wrong with these. Now, what I'll show you here because it's easier to see, right? You can enable turbo with the T button as you would expect, right? So let's turbo on A. So I'm going to press T and A, right? It vibrates to let me know that I've done something. If I press down and hold, do you see that that button's going crazy? Like it's inputting for me. That's because turbo just inputs for you like over and over and over again. So when I press and hold, it's going to input multiple times a second for me. If I let go, it stops. If I press T and A again, now I can put the controller down and it's just going to keep inputting that input for me until I press and hold it. But if I let go, actually, it stayed paused. But if I press it again, then it inputs. If I press T and A again, it cancels it out entirely. But there's no change of input rate here. So some controllers let you change the input rate like per second. So it'd be like 10 inputs per second, 50, 100, whatever. This is just a set rate. Now, weirdly, with the M button, I thought M would be for the back paddles, right? To assign macros and stuff like that. No, because that's illogical. Instead, we use the turbo button. Okay, I'll tell you what M button is for. It's for disabling the back paddles. So if you don't like back paddles, press and hold M for 3 seconds and it will vibrate and go, yep, you've done that. And now these are completely disabled, which I suppose is kind of cool if you're playing a game and you're sharing a controller like me and my wife do. And I like back paddles and I assign them, but she doesn't. Before I passed the controller over it, I could like press and hold it for 3 seconds. It then disables them. Then she could play without any worry. And then when I want to play again myself, I could press and hold it. Whereas at the minute I'm using an Xbox Series Elite and I'm having to pull the back paddles off before I like pass it over. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of cool, but that's all that button does. Like that's it. And then press and hold again for 3 seconds to re-enable the back paddles, right? So I've already assigned one and you can see it's inputting A just there. So yeah, that is a weird button. Why they've called it M, I don't know, but okay. So to assign the back paddles, what you're going to do is press T and the back paddle of your choice. It's going to vibrate. Let's just say A and then press T again. And now I've assigned A to this back paddle just there. And it does have true button swap as well, where it actually inputs for that input length, which is good. Really like that. To cancel it, hold the button and T again, press T again, and now it's cancelled it out. But this does have macro record, so I'll show you on here because it's quite a good representation, right? I'm going to do the same thing, but now I'm gonna press a load of stuff, right? And that's it. Now I'm going to press it. Do you see the joysticks are doing stuff and everything? Because that is what I just recorded. So I just recorded a load of random inputs, and when I press that back pedal, it then does them. But you cannot assign turbo to that macro recording, that is it. But yes, you can button swap or turbo to these back pedals, all good. Now, if I wanted to unassign that, T and that back pedal, T again, and now I've just recorded nothing onto that slot. Or again, you could just press and hold M, and then, you know, it will disable them. One good thing about that M button is if you disable all the back pedals and then re-enable it, it remembers everything that you've done prior to disabling it. So that's kind of a good feature. And that's pretty much it. This controller comes in at $60. That's £55 here in the UK. I feel like it just falls a little bit short, personally. I feel like there's some build quality issues in terms of, like, they could have designed it better, you know? Like, they could have put a lip here. They could have put a lip on these face buttons. They could have made these shoulder buttons less, like, aggressive. Like, they could have also dropped, well, you know, not made this USB-C port so recessed that you're forced to use their cable. You know, there's just little things like that that are kind of annoying to me when you're paying $60. That's quite a lot. If this was like $40, I'd be like, yeah, this is really good for the price. But 60, I don't know. I'm sorry, NYXI. You know, I just feel like this, the only reason you should consider this is if you like symmetrical joystick layouts like a PlayStation, right? And you're struggling to find anything else, even though there's other controllers out there that are symmetrical. But if you really like the idea of swapping this around, then cool. But personally, if you're not fussed about symmetrical and you're just going to leave it in like Xbox mode, I'd probably recommend the GameSir Cyclone 2, which is only $5 more, and it comes with a charging dock and the dongle extender. Or you can pay the same price as this and get it without the dock. You know, so I would recommend that one personally. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing ultimately or fundamentally wrong with this. It's just not ticking it off for me personally. But there we have it. That is the NYXI not so flexible Flexi. You know, I mean, if it was rubber and it was all like bendy, I'd probably enjoy this more. Anyway, I'm talking a load of rubbish. Let me know what you think about this controller. Would you use it in symmetrical or asymmetrical? What do you prefer with controllers? Let me know down in the comments. Once down there, like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you can see these videos early, and you get to talk to me and AJ over on a private Discord. And talking of AJ, make sure that you subscribe to see his news videos here on this channel and our podcast as well. You're missing out if you're not watching those. Anyway, bye.